The Chinese Communist Party has created a confidential watch list that contains the data of hundreds of Americans and other foreign individuals of international travellers who passed through Shanghai's Pudong International Airport between 2018 and 2020. A total of 697 American nationals are featured on the list, including children, according to the Australian cybersecurity firm Internet 2.0, for reasons unknown. A Grammy-winning singer Ashanti, who had passed through the airport in 2018, and executives from companies like Microsoft, Apple, Merrill Lynch, Pfizer and GE Healthcare are also included. Several professors and researchers from US universities, including a top administrator at NYU Shanghai and an official working for the US State Department's Bureau of International Organization Affairs, are also named. Over 100 British names that include business and government leaders are enlisted, and the MI5 investigates the issue. The database has thousands of Uyghurs marked as terrorists, including 400 minors. Almost 161 Australian individuals' data had been stored, including a former intelligence chief of the country. In an interview with ABC, Samantha Hoffman, a senior analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, said that the watch list is similar to other public security databases maintained by the Chinese Communist Party. I've seen evidence of the same system type being developed in other cities and provinces across China in a standardized way. Although this data is showing information from a limited time period, it shows how foreigners could get caught up in China's surveillance state when they've passed through the country, even if that system isn't fully established yet. It shouldn't be a surprise for any foreigner visiting China that they might be tracked, she told ABC. According to Internet 2.0, the database allows us to understand how China is building up its surveillance state and leveraging information as a means of control. The data on Uyghurs shows that China is blurring the lines between counter-terrorism and political crimes and law and order. David Robinson and Robert Potter, CEOs of the company, warned that the watch list exposes China's ambitions and an ability to impose its will within the jurisdiction without any concern for privacy or accountability. The communist regime, together with several Chinese companies, has created an internet ecosystem that delimits and controls the internet within a state's borders, according to the report by Human Rights Watch. Australian table grape exports face custom clearing delays at ports in China due to the tense bilateral relations, said the Australian grape growers and industry executives to Reuters. Reuters reported for the last 3 weeks, table grapes have been experiencing lengthy delays at port. There are about 400 or 500 containers that are taking between 5 and 10 days longer than normal to be cleared, said Jeff Scott, Chief Executive Officer at the industry body, the Australian Table Grape Association. According to Reuters, the delays are being reported in southern Chinese ports, in particular Port of Shenzhen, for reasons unknown. Exporters from other countries are not experiencing the same delays, said Scott. The bilateral relationship between the trading partners has been strained since 2018 after Canberra banned Huawei Technologies Co. from constructing its 5G network and introduced anti-foreign interference laws to stop Beijing's meddling in domestic affairs. The Chinese government accused some of the Australian policies of poisoning bilateral ties and increased its pressure through trade sanctions after the Australian government called for private investigators to probe the origins of the coronavirus from Wuhan. Prime Minister Scott Morrison visited Japan to make a new defence pact with Japan, which has further added fuel to the tensions. Morrison said in a television interview Thursday with the Nine Network, Australia will always be ourselves. We will always set our own laws and our own rules according to our national interests, not in the behest of any other nation, whether that's the US or China or anyone else. We won't be compromising on the fact that we'll set what our foreign investment laws are or how we build our 5G telecommunications networks or how we run our systems to protect against any interference, Morrison said. Reuters reported in the aftermath, China moved to limit imports of Canberra's barley, beef, cotton and seafood. And in what may be the latest casualty, Australian grape growers said they are experiencing customs delays. Speaking on ABC Insiders on April 25th, the Australian Defence Minister Peter Dutton announced that a conflict with China should not be discounted. Nevertheless, he emphasised that the Australian government was still committed to increasing dialogue and cooperation with Beijing. Dutton stressed that Australia has a good relationship with many countries, mentioning China as an important trading partner, but added,
"We do have a difference of opinion with the ideals of the Communist Party of China. Let's be very frank about it."
Sino-Australian ties have deteriorated considerably due to the sharp differences over the COVID-19 pandemic, trade, the Chinese regime's fight for dominance in the Taiwan Strait, and the recently scrapped deals between Canberra and Xi Jinping's China's Belt and Road Initiative. As Beijing's diplomatic and military-heavy manoeuvres continue to pressure Taipei into relinquishing its fight for independence, Dutton stated that people should be realistic about Beijing's activities. He said that it is obvious that there are a large number of military activities and there is also hostility between Taiwan and China, adding that the Australian Defence Forces were highly prepared for any potential threats. Former US Senator Chris Dodd and former Deputy Secretaries of State Richard Armitage and James Steinberg are presently visiting Taiwan to show the US's rock-solid commitment to Taiwan and acknowledgement of the island's democratic rights. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen told the US delegates in a meeting at the presidential office last week that Taiwan was very willing to cooperate with Washington in order to counter Chinese military actions in the region. Tsai told the delegation that the Chinese military's activities threaten regional and global peace and stability. In recent weeks, the Chinese military upped the ante in the Pacific, raising the alarm in Taipei and Washington. According to security sources in Taipei, Chinese naval drills, including an aircraft carrier battle group into Taiwan's air defense zone, was to tell Washington to back down and back off. Beijing, which sees Taiwan as a breakaway province, considers the island part of its territory and views Washington's helping hand to Taiwanese entities seeking independence crossing the Chinese Communist Party's red line. According to a report in the International Centre for Comprehensive Foreign News, the head of the Australian Defence Force, Angus Campbell, warned that if there is a war in the Taiwan Strait, it will be a disaster. He urged the leaders of China and Taiwan to talk to resolve their differences.